for sure I love design, but people have my heart 100%.
This is Elegant Homes with Don Reilly. Each week, get expert advice from Don Reilly that's straightforward, making sure you're not taken advantage of. Powered by CFI and by Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
Welcome back to another episode of Elegant Homes. I'm your host, Don Reilly, where we make every home elegant, one home at a time. And, you know, today has been a special day for us in the home improvement business. We have done some big projects lately, and, you know, when you come across big things, you just know it. And this next young lady who we got coming to the show, she does some big things. I mean, I'm watching her on Facebook and Instagram, and she can take your home, and I mean, it's almost like she's a genie. She just snaps her fingers and your home's beautiful. So I like to welcome Danielle Harris to our show. Danielle, welcome.
Thank you. I like that magic genie. I'm going to have to use that.
So you, you know, I watch it. You do some amazing things.
Thank you.
You take a home, I mean, it's just your typical home, and all of a sudden you turn it into something spectacular. And I just was fascinated by watching you take these homes, and I see your movers bringing all this stuff in and flowers and all these, you know, and it's like, wow, this is really cool. And I was like, I got to get her on the show. Tell us a little bit about your business and what you do. I mean, I know you have so many different facets of your business, and tell me this is a family business too, which is really cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I like to say that I'm the ringleader of a circus because it's a little bit wild, but we own a couple of different businesses. So my family owns an interior design firm. They actually started it when they were pregnant with me. So it's been around quite a few years. We won't exactly say how many years. You'll have to do a little bit of research for that. Right. But we do model homes for some high-end builders around the area. And then we also do residential design work. So I do all the residential work for the company. We also stage homes for realtors. Basically anything in the interior design industry, we cover it with TOB Design Firm. And then my husband and I.
What is TOZ?
TOB.
TOB. What is that? You tell us a little bit about that.
So TOB stands for Touch of Brass Design Firm. So a little backstory with that is when they originally started the company, it was called Touch of Brass. And then about probably 3 or 4 years into it, people thought that all they sold was brass stuff, because back in the day, you know, all the pretty little doilies and the brass, that was what everybody was buying. Well, that kind of faded away, and everyone thought all they sold was brass items. So we actually DBA now as Touch of Class locally, but our incorporated name is TOB, which stands for Touch of Brass Design Firm. So we kind of just abbreviated it a little because brass is coming back, but not that kind of brass. So we're going to have to still keep it TOB. So we have that business. And then we also, my husband and I, own a remodeling company who I'll have to toot our horn for a minute. We just won Best of Northern Kentucky for 2020 in home remodelers. And we do basically anything home remodeling, but I would say that we do a lot of kitchen remodels. We finish basements, bathroom remodels, and that's really something we've enjoyed doing together because we really get to transform spaces. So we do a lot of, you know, the homes you've seen that were 20 plus years ago where everything was floral wallpaper and borders and carpet in the bathrooms, all that really fun stuff that we get to take that and really transform the space. So that's been a really fun thing that him and I have had to kind of walk out together and work together. So that's had its challenges, but also has been really fun.
So these customers call you, I guess from what I see, you work with realtors and contractors. And so does someone call you and say, hey, my space, I just really want to change how this looks, and then you remodel it, and then you put your touch of class, as I say, or brass to it?
Go. Look at you. So yeah, that happens a lot of times. I would say that we've been really blessed to be able to have a lot of referral business. So funny that you asked about that. I had someone call me yesterday who actually needs help remodeling their window treatments, and they used my mom as their interior designer 25 years ago. Wow. So that's been a really fun thing to kind of walk through too, to kind of say, oh, I remember you as a little girl going through different things. But people call me for all different types of services. Sometimes they'll call me and say, hey, we just really need help picking paint colors. You know, we're having our house painted. We really need help with that. And I'll just do an hourly consultation with somebody and really walk through your house and just say, hey, this is how you should kind of redo your furniture. This is how you should arrange things. You may want to do an accent wall here. And then sometimes people call me and they're building a home and they want me to start from, literally the dirt up with them, making every selection and every step of the way I help them. And then some people call me just room by room. So it really varies. So I like to always say I do the same thing, but I never do the same thing. So I'm always doing something different, but it's still in the same, aspect and kind of what I'm good at, I guess. So.
Well, and I did some homework today. I was looking, I was looking through a few websites, and I was looking at last year. I read this. It looks like over $225 million was what people spent on home renovations the last 2 years with interior design. I mean, that's a big number.
Very big number.
It's a big number. And when I pulled this up, I was thinking of you, and I thought, well, we got to know, what is your goal in that business? Is your goal to decorate every house you can lay your hands on, or do you like the remodeling side better? I mean, do you like the design? It sounds like you really like the design, but then it sounds like your husband comes in and does the remodeling. So you guys kind of tag team the job together, right? From what I'm seeing. I mean, it's pretty nice. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. That's what I have always said. And I really, truly love every aspect of interior design. So I think that it's really fun to see those remodels because they really, go from, not to hot really quickly when you start to just gut things. I mean, of course, that's fun to do, but as you said, a lot of people do spend a lot of money, but there is people that don't have that, and they really just have to use the walls that we're working with. So I think that probably my favorite part of it, I love the whole entire industry, but I think my favorite part of it is just how rewarding it is to be able to just see people's faces like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe this is my space. I can't even believe that I get to live in this house. So I really enjoy all of it. I think that the remodeling side of it has been newer for me because we've only been we started it 10 years ago, but we've really probably only been super busy for the last 5 because, we were building a business. But I think that is a really fun thing for us to walk together because we get to, I get to walk in and go, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to take that wall down. And then my husband's like, no, we're not because that's a load bearing wall. And so I've learned a lot about the construction side of it, which I think was something that, just being an interior designer, I missed a little bit of that because you don't really know like a lot about electrical, a lot about what tools you need for the job, what walls are load bearing walls. I've learned a lot of that. So I've gotten a lot of wisdom. I also work in the construction. There's a lot of new construction that goes on with my interior design clients. And so I think that I've also gained a little bit of, I like to call it street cred with some of the construction guys because I can walk in and they don't just look at me as like another dumb broad of an interior designer. Sure. I know kind of have some knowledge and some wisdom when I walk in and start having a conversation. They're like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. So I think that part has really helped me. So I think that I've really enjoyed walking that out and learning, the construction side of things too. So I'm kind of well-rounded now, as you would say.
Yeah, and it shows. I mean, when I watch your videos or I watch stuff you're doing on, Instagram or Facebook, you can tell what you're doing. I mean, and I always tell people, what makes me smart to know when I'm dumb. That's my favorite saying to my crews and everybody I work with. I started my career as a carpenter. And, the nice thing is when you go in to do these projects, there's a lot of pre-planning. People don't realize, people like us, entrepreneurs and business owners, we're working on a big project right now. We're doing a big room addition, and there's months of pre-planning before we even break ground and start digging holes for footers on these jobs. So tell us a little bit about what's the pre-planning on your end, because there's got to be a lot. You got pots and pans and dishes and furniture. I mean, there's a lot more facets to what you're doing than what I'm doing. I'm showing up with a lumber package and taking a blueprint and building it. You're doing that, but also you're putting you got to make sure the walls match the carpets and the tile. And tell us a little. I'm fascinated, because I've always liked interior. I'm one of these clean freak guys anyway. That you come in my.
You're like one of those.
Oh yeah, I like everything clean and neat. My kids mess stuff up, and I'm wiping it up. But that's good because that made me a great business owner because I'd run my jobs the same way. And if somebody's out of line, I'm saying, hey, let's fix that. Let's get to the solution instead of we can talk about the problem all day. Let's get to the solution. What's it going to take to fix that? Tell us a little bit about your business. I want to wrap my head around when you walk into a client's home and you start looking around, you're like, wow, I can do that. Put this color on this wall. And I want to hear about that because that excites me. I love seeing that. How do you get from point A to point Z with a customer and they go, I love it. It's elegant. You know what I'm saying? How do you do that?
Yeah. So I would say if we're talking about new construction, because, again, I'm walking into different aspects. So new construction, I mean, you're probably talking at least 6 months, if not 9 months in advance that I'm getting involved in stuff because, we're starting from a blueprint and we start right from the beginning. So right now, like for instance, I'm working on a lake house in Minnesota. We started from like the preliminary blueprints and we changed those blueprints several times, probably since maybe April or May. We didn't get a set blueprint until probably September. And now, once we get to that point, then it's like, okay, well now we have to work on the exterior selection. So you're talking about siding and roofing and, cement board and what different things are we putting on the exterior of the house. Then we have to talk about lighting. So when we're doing a custom home, it really is probably nine months plus when we start from the beginning and going to the end. Furniture, like we haven't even gotten into furniture with that specific client yet because we're still working on tiles and lighting and all of that stuff. So it takes a very long time, to get all of those things kind of in place. But the funniest part is that even though I'm just picking lighting, in my mind, I'm already like, okay, well, if I pick this light, we're going to do this wallpaper as an accent wall. Now, I don't say that to them, but that's already kind of churning in my mind the entire vision of the space.
Sure.
Now, if I walk into a client's home that, we're not doing new construction, the house is already there, and they're just having me come in and, kind of redesign maybe their great room and kitchen, let's say. Most of the time, we're going to be sort of getting all new furniture, doing, new walls, different things like that. I mean, you're still probably 3 to 4 months ahead of time. One thing that I would say is the biggest misconception, so you may find this interesting, is most people, I walk in and the first thing they want to do is pick a paint color. And that's the very last thing that you really technically do. And people were just shocked by that. They think that, well, we should pick a paint color first and then we work the entire room around this paint color. And I'm like, well, there's thousands and thousands of paint colors. There's only so many navy blue sofas, so we have to kind of pick the bones of the space first and then kind of do paint colors. So that is kind of funny that I don't know why people think that, but everybody thinks you pick a paint color first. So when I walk into a client's home like that, we're going to have an initial consultation. I'm going to kind of get their visions because the other thing that happens with them is they may say, oh, I'm modern. I love modern furniture. And I'll say, well, show me a picture of that. And probably 9 times out of 10, it's really not modern. I mean, they might have a few little flicks of it, but it's not like true modern. So we kind of have to narrow down what do they like? What do they want? What's in their head? I really have to pull out what's in their head so I can make their visions come to life. We do that initial consultation, kind of get an idea of what they want. And then from there, I go to my design center and I actually pull together plans for them. And you can't just pull together one plan when you're working with a client because ultimately they have to be happy and they have to make the decision. So I give them about 3 or 4 different options. So it's not just coming up with one game plan, it's coming up with 4 different game plans that are all in the same color palette, that are all in the same design style that they want. So it's definitely, a lot of work put in on the front end. Then once the ordering process comes in, we custom order everything. A lot of people think I'm just going to the stores here and buying. We actually have 350 different manufacturers that we purchase directly through. So nobody's local. So really it's kind of nice because you don't get the same stuff that everybody else around here is buying. So we order directly from the manufacturers. That takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get here. In 2020, that's looking more like 10 weeks to get here.
I was just going to ask you if you were running into problems.
Oh yeah, it's been a magical year in the furniture business. So then when we actually install stuff, the way I do it, and I think from what I've heard, I'm really the only designer in the area that does this, is instead of, when I come to set up your bones of your space, instead of saying, okay, well, this picture, we pre-ordered this picture and this is where it's going to go. I have a 20,000 square foot warehouse full of accessories. So I actually bring all of the accessories to the space and I set it up just like I would a model home. And if they like it, they keep it, they buy it. So they don't even see the accessories until I'm done that day. So I like to call it's their HGTV moment because they literally get to walk in and it's completely done that day. So from a client standpoint, they're really seeing it go from what it was to the new, amazing space kind of overnight, even though we started working on it months in advance. But for me, the brain power in doing it all is a lot in the front end for sure.
Well, and you, like I said, with all that pre-planning, I mean, I'm sure if you take something to a customer and they don't like it, then you got to go back to the drawing board, right? I mean, it's not like I can say, like, for example, we're building a room addition and the guy wants a hot tub. Mm-hmm. Well, I had to say, hey, we got to beef up that area so you can sit that 12,000-pound hot tub on top. So I can't just put that on the regular floor. Mm-hmm. I gotta put cross members. I gotta add more posts, 6x6. So I got, what's that going to cost? Well, you're probably talking another $2,000-$3,000 just for the material and the labor. People don't think that. Is it the same way in your business? So if I say, well, Danielle, I want to put, this particular sofa and this, and then all of a sudden you're like, you bring it, you show them a mock-up of it, and they're like, oh, I don't like that brown, and you worked hours trying to put all this. Right. You had to go back to the I mean, so that probably takes you a while to put all that back together, right? I mean, it's not something you just throw together.
Yeah, so I would say, and I'm not going to say it's never happened, but I have very, very, very rarely ran into that because I really try to do as much of that homework on the front end, and that's why I do 3 or 4 different looks. So that way they may say to me, oh, Danielle, I really love the way number 2 looks, but I really hate that sofa. So could we bring number 4's look sofa into number 2? So I really had to be kind of good on my feet that day when we're doing a presentation, but usually everything works out great, and I usually over prepare, to be honest. So I tell my clients 3 to 4 looks, but in the back of my mind, I probably got like 7 looks, just in case that would happen. But I do run into issues sometimes where I would say the biggest challenge, like what you're talking about, is I deal with husband and wives a lot, and husbands and wives typically aren't going to always like the same style. And so sometimes when you get 2 really headstrong people that don't like the same style, I become the middleman. So then I have to kind of it's almost like family court sometimes, like, okay, well, this is what I think. And so what I always like to do to kind of clear the air and make everything sort of, kind of comical, I'll just say, well, we can do that, but that's ADA, and that means against designer's advice. So if you want to do that, that's totally fine, but it's ADA, just so you know. And usually people will go, oh, I don't want to be ADA. I'm like, well, then we don't do that. So I kind of have a way of trying to be funny about it, but I'm being serious. And people usually kind of just, I'm a good swayer. I like to
I could see
sway
that.
my way into what I want as far as the design goes. And too, I always tell people, you can do whatever you want. It's your house, but you paid me for a reason, and I'm here to tell you, I'm not afraid to give you my opinion. So, a lot of my business is referrals. So I want your house to look the best that it's going to look, so that people come in here and they're like, oh, well, whoever this is who I want to do my house. And if you pick that ugly, red maroon sofa, someone's going to come in here and be like, oh, who did this? Oh, it looks great. And then they're going to be like, don't ever call her. So I have to try to make sure that it's going to work for the space. I want it to look just as good as they do. So sometimes I do run into little issues, but I try to just be as overly prepared as possible with those type of things. Now, it probably happens a little bit more maybe in the construction end of it, because from a construction standpoint, sometimes there's only so many things you can do and fix to make people's visions come to life when it comes to, if you already have a foundation, you're not extending that. Or, a lot of times I would say this happens in lower levels. Sometimes people don't have a walkout and they have just a big window and they're like, oh, well, we can just make that a walkout. And I'm like, it's really not that simple. We could do it, but it depends on how big your pocketbook is. Because it's not like, oh yeah, we're just going to knock out part of your, back of your house and create. So it's things like that in the construction world that people don't have, like you said, the knowledge of what needs to happen. They just think oh yeah, we're just going to make this, a walkout basement, no problemo. So I would say in the construction world, it happens a little bit more. But Josh usually deals with that more than I would, because he knows all the terminology.
and that's a good stopping point. We're going to take a little break. We're going to be right back with Danielle. This is Elegant Homes. You're listening to Don Reilly and Elegant Homes. We'll be right back with Danielle. One of the things I like to talk about is my guys over at CFI. They are some of the best when it comes to carpet installation, linoleum, ceramic, maybe even you need that new tile or hardwood in your home. These guys are the best. I always recommend CFI because they do a quality installation and they always show up on time, and they're always very courteous to me and my wife at our home. If you're looking for some of the best guys in the installation business, look no further than CFI. These guys are the best. You can reach them at cfiinstallation.com. Once again, that's cfiinstallation.com. Also, you got to stop out and see Rob and the gang out there at Marshall Chevrolet. These guys are great. If you're looking for that new Equinox, maybe that new Chevy Silverado or Trailblazer, stop out and see Rob and the gang out there at Marshall Chevrolet. They'll really hook you up. They got a great service team. They'll get you in, roll you out, and make sure that you tell them Don Reilly with Elegant Homes sent you.
You're locked into Elegant Homes, powered by CFI, for all your flooring needs, and by Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
Welcome back to Elegant Homes. We are sitting here with Danielle Harris, and I call her the Genie because she just makes stuff happen.
And that's my new nickname from now on.
I like the Genie. I think it suits her perfectly. You know, and she's in the beautiful business. I mean, she's in the making every home beautiful, you know, and from what I see, she does a phenomenal job. You know, and right before the break, we were talking a little bit about some of these things that you do in the industry and the dynamic between the remodeling side, which I understand completely because I'm in that business, and the part of the other side that I don't understand because I'm not in that business is the interior design, and that's where you're just a superstar.
Thank
you know, and tell me a little, you know, and I'm fascinated because, you know, my wife she's a stay-at-home mom, so she's not in the home. She knows nothing about my business. So I go home and, you know, lay all this stuff on her, and she's like, oh, whatever, Don, I'm going back to teaching the kids, you know. So,
yeah.
So she's not interested in that at all. She's got a master's in nutrition, so she has no interest in the home improvement business. And I talk decks and 2x4s and studs, and she, you know, she just goes right over her head. But you go home, talk about design and build because you and your husband are a team. So.
Right.
I'm just fascinated because I see you on Facebook or Instagram, and you guys are working together doing these projects. Tell me that dynamic because, I mean, that's the American dream that you get to be married to somebody and you get to work with them. And that's so cool. I watch that and I think, man, that's so cool. I wish my wife was in the home improvement business. But I got some daughters that say, Daddy, I'd love to be, work with you when I get older.
There you go.
So maybe there's hope. But
Girl bosses all the way. I'm all about that.
But tell me about that. How does that work? Because I just watch that and I think that's so cool that your husband, you guys are like this team, and and you're also you just had a newborn, so I mean tell me about you got all this stuff going on, and like how do you find
I'm a crazy person apparently is what I am.
No, I don't think so. You seems like you do a good job, but how do you find that straight narrow road where you can say, hey, we're going to throw all this stuff against the wall, and then guess what, it just turns out beautiful? You tell me a little bit about that. So
I think it definitely is challenging, but I think that what has really helped me kind of pave the way is that I was brought up in a family-owned business. So I saw the grit and the grind and having to be at the shop, because I don't know if you knew this, but my parents had up on Main Street right up here, they had a brick and mortar retail shop for years. So I was there literally from the time I got out of school till the time it closed at 9:00. And then of course, when the doors close, you got to stay there, put all the retail back. Sure. So, I mean, I grew up watching how you have to run a business. And so I think that for me, once I decided this is what I was going to do, I just hit the ground running right there with my stilettos. Like, you better watch out, world, because here I come. Now for Josh, his parents went to jobs, worked for people, worked 9 to 5. His mom stayed at home, like you were talking about, until he got in, I think, middle school. And then she works for the Cincinnati public school system still as a cafeteria lady. So he had a totally different lifestyle of, okay, we work this 9 to 5, we come home, we are with family, and that's how it works. Well, as you know, when you own your own business, we're 24/7 talking about work. I'm laying in bed at 2:00 in the morning, doing mood boards and picking invoices and, sending, all that stuff.
I like that.
So I think that, it's great that we get to work together, but it's definitely come with some challenges too, because we've had to figure it out. I think I am blessed that I kind of had a little bit of guidance because I knew what it took. Like, oh, I can't just turn it off. Like I never turn it off. It's constantly on. And I watched how you kind of do it. When I was little, I used to be jumping in the warehouse on mattresses and playing with the warehouse guys. And now literally my kids do the same thing. Yesterday, for example, you said I just had a newborn. I'm blessed that my older kids are at a private school, so they're in school in person, but my newborn is with me. So my sitter fell through yesterday, so Danielle can't cancel her job. So I literally took the baby to the warehouse, and the warehouse people and my aunt who runs the front office babysat my kid while I went to a consultation. And he was just running around the warehouse, playing with all the different stuff. When I got there, they had him on a dolly, a 4-wheel dolly. He was just sitting there and they were pushing him around. And that's just kind of how we do. I mean, I've showed up at clients' houses with a baby on my hip and forewarned them like, hey, he's coming with me because sitters have fallen through. And my kids, sometimes when I'm finishing up jobs, if it's late at night, it's a very real thing when you've seen like the Chip and Joanna Gaines and her kids come and have dinner with her. 100% we do that sometimes because I'm all about family, but I'm also all about my business, and my business is what feeds my family. So if we all got to be fed at the job site, that's what we're going to do. So, and then, being able to work with Josh, I think it's a fun dynamic to be able to play off of one another because we really do have this something that not a whole lot of builders have that luxury of having a designer on staff. Most of the time it's like, okay, well, what do you want? And then the consumer has to pick it, and it might not always turn out the way that you would want it to turn out. So I think that that's been a really fun dynamic, but there's also times where it's like, who picked this tile? Because it's not working out, like blah, 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 so it's like, we bump heads sometimes, but we've been married. We just had our 9-year wedding anniversary last week. So
congrats.
Thanks. So we're figuring it out. I mean, it's just kind of one day at a time, and every day is something new. And I literally, like when I said I'm a crazy person, I probably need a little bit of a psychological evaluation because I just keep throwing us into more and more stuff. But I think that it's just like, I just know that when you own a business, you take every opportunity and you hit the ground running and you just make it happen. And I think that that's kind of what we've done. And I think that's why Josh has been successful and we've been successful is because we just figure it out. I mean, there's no off day. If we have to work a weekend, we do it. We bring the kids, we do whatever we got to do to kind of make it happen. And I think I really do attribute my parents to that because I watched that grit and grind for so long.
Well, and it sounds like too that you guys make your plan, you work your plan. It sounds like, you got your side, he's got his side, and it just kind of all blends together, which I think is beautiful because like you said, most people don't have that. So that's a true testament of what you're building, and what I think is just sit back. It's nice to sit back and watch people. I love seeing other successful people do great things, and you guys are definitely
I'm the same way.
You guys are definitely doing great things. So I commend you because I know what it takes to start a business. I've owned this business for almost 15 years myself, and and I always tell people I've never arrived.
Right.
Things are just things, houses, cars, all, but you never arrive. And I tell people every year I write a new business plan, and I pretend like it's the first year I started my business.
There you go.
And and you got to keep that hunger. And I love people that have that hunger. And there's not a lot of us out there anymore. And nowadays it's even getting less of us out there.
Right.
So I'm always excited when I have somebody that has that same eye of the tiger, and it's just that go get 'em kind of attitude. And
I don't really know how to say no. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. But I think that when you have that drive and that hunger, like you said, I think that the sky is really the limit because you've never, like you said, really ever arrived. Like it's always like, well, what can I do next? Well, how could I do that better? Well, what can I do that's bigger? Well, where haven't I traveled to do design work? So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I tell people the furthest distance you ever travel in this life is from here to here, your head to your heart.
Oh, there you go.
I love that. I had a guy tell me that in business a long time ago. Said whether you take that tool belt off or leave it on, he's like, this is the furthest distance you'll ever travel from your heart to your head. And I sit back and I was like, I know, old man's smart, man.
Yeah, there you go.
But he was trying to teach me something. You let this control this, and that's what gives you that drive. And because you got heart. If you didn't have heart, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. And I just love that. I think it's great. And we need more people with heart in this country. And I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. Some of the stuff I watch you do, I'm like, man, how do you put these different formulas together to come to this winning combination? What does Danielle like as far as the industry? What is your favorite thing that you just say, man, I wake up in the morning, I just love doing this in your particular business?
I mean, I would say people have my heart 100%. So that's kind of why I chose to do not only, because I could have chosen in the family business to only do model homes, to only do the realtor stuff. But I really chose that, no, I really actually do want to do the residential work because that's probably working with people, I'm sure, as you know, is probably the most difficult thing to do rather than I could just pick doing models and I'm just working with myself and I get to do whatever I want with these model homes. But people really have my heart. And I think that if I get to wake up every day and I get to work with people that are just super appreciative. I mean, I've been really blessed that majority of people that I work with are just such wonderful people, and they all have different stories. And I get to really, when we talked about earlier, how I'm there with them for 9 months to a year or half of a year, I really am kind of like an extension of their family. Their kids get excited when I show up at the door. If it's around the holidays or I know their birthday's coming up, I come with a little birthday, cake or a little balloon. I mean, I really do feel like I'm a part of their family. And so I think that it becomes even more passionate, even though design is my passion, people are my passion even over that. So when I get to do the combination of making their space beautiful, and I think the home is the most intimate thing you can do, because that's where they're spending their time with their family and ones that they love. So if I get to make their heart skip a beat on top of in a place that they are with people that they love, I think that dynamic for me is just so special. And I get to see a lot of families, as we talked about. I'll have return business and I'll get to come back and see them. I just finished up a house that I started when literally their youngest was in a baby bed, and he is starting high school. So it's like, holy cow, like I can't even believe that I remember you in a baby bed gnawing on the crib, and your mom calling me and wanting to know if there was touch-up paint because you were gnawing on a crib, and now you're, playing football in high school. So I think it's really fun to watch that dynamic, and I think that for sure I love design, but people have my heart 100%.
What a great answer. I love that. Is it tough, like when you get a recall? I was thinking about that too. It was just going through my mind as we were sitting here. You mentioned you did someone's house and you watched the kid grow up. Now, what if that same person called you back and wants you to come redo a new home that they purchased or something? Mm-hmm. Does that happen a lot in your industry? Because I get a lot of what they call referral business. I'm sure you do too. But does that happen in the design business a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that same client that I was just talking about, I'm on their fourth house with them. So they've moved 4 times.
Wow.
So the first time they just outgrew their house because they have a large family. The second time, somebody came through, they had a city view, and somebody just came by and was like, hey, I want to buy your house. So it was like kind of on a whim that they decided to sell their home. And then the fourth time they, didn't like where they had moved to, so they relocated again. So yeah, I do that pretty often, which I also think is fun, because majority of the time when they're doing it, it's because they've outgrown a space. But the other thing that happens is when people, that I think is even more of a like, oh wow, you really want me to do that, is a lot of people, we have a lot of big Fortune 500 companies here, Procter & Gamble, we have GM, we have a lot of big companies here, and they relocate people a lot. And I've had the opportunity several times that I've done their home here locally, and they end up being relocated, and they're like, oh my gosh, will you come do my new house? So I just had the opportunity to do a client's home a couple years ago here. They were only here for a year, and they got relocated to Asheville, North Carolina. I got married in Asheville, North Carolina, and now I'm getting the opportunity to work on their house in Asheville. So it's just kind of a full circle thing for me. And I think it's a true honor when people are like, I have to, there's designers in every city. It's not like they have to pick me, and they're like, no, ma'am, you are coming with me wherever I go. So I think that's really fun too. So yeah, I get to do a lot of, kind of relocation, doing their houses into different places and when they move too. So that's fun.
Well, and it sounds like you got their trust. And I tell people all the time, you can be, the best salesman in the world, have the best product in the world. If they don't trust you, they're not going to buy from you. And you've got the people's trust, and I tell people, they say, how do you become so successful? People trust. If you come in, I can tell instantly, you walk into my house, I'm going to trust you, and you got that trustability, that likability, and that's so important. I try to teach my salespeople that, like, you got to go in, you got to make somebody like you, because if they don't like you, they ain't buying nothing from you. And you have that, what I call the it, so I can just tell them sitting there with you. So one of the things I want to talk to, that you do a lot of charities, and Elegant Homes, we are the same way. We like to go out and help the community. You're big in the community. I started a 501c last year called Back Home Patriots. We help veterans. And you told me a cool story before our producer Tony got here. And you fed some veterans not too long. I think that's so cool. I want the listeners to hear about that. I thought that was a cool story. So can you share that with us?
So really quickly, I am, as everyone should be, I'm a very frequenter to Chick-fil-A. And I am on, obviously, their reward system, and I never use my points. And I don't know why that is. I guess I just always felt like I can afford to buy a Chick-fil-A sandwich. So I just would keep them and let them just accumulate. So about 3 years ago, I noticed, oh my gosh, I have like 50,000 points. What am I going to do with this? So Chick-fil-A on
Kids
Mall
eat
Road.
good.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A on Mall Road. I'm going to give them a shout out. They were willing to let me use all my points in bulk. And so 3 years ago when we started doing it, I got to bring in all of these people who are a little less fortunate than we are and were able to have Chick-fil-A for the first time 100% for free. They all were fed at Chick-fil-A. They gave them a VIP experience. They got to go back into the kitchen, do the whole thing. So after they did it the first time, I'm like, well, we're going to do this every year. And they're probably like, great. But so this year, I decided that I'm going to do something for veterans. So of course, with COVID-19, I wasn't allowed to bring anybody into the Chick-fil-A building to have that many people in bulk there. But the Lord's Gym down in Covington, they were willing to have me down there. They invited 70 veterans to their building, and we fed 70 veterans Chick-fil-A. I got my kids' school, Zion Christian Academy, involved. They did a little project, a little art project at school where they painted rocks. They painted them white and did red, white, and blue letters. They put loyalty, honor, thank you, God bless America, just different things on each rock. And then each veteran was blessed with a rock when they left. And then the coolest part of that story was we had some extra ones when they left, and I gave them to a few people like, oh, if you see a veteran today, give them to them, if you want to. I received thank you cards, not from the people that attended the actual breakfast, but from the people that they gave the rocks to. They sent thank you cards down to the Lord's Gym because they wanted the kids to know how much those blessed them. So, and it was a rock. I mean, we're talking a rock. Yeah. So we really enjoyed that. And I said they blessed me more than I even blessed them, because I was just astounded at, I would say 80% of the people we fed that day were homeless. So there's a lot of our homeless that are veterans that I wouldn't even have realized that. And then the wisdom that I got from them, just sitting down and chatting with them and talking with them, it was a really fun experience, and it was very humbling, and it was also, just very nice just to talk to them one-on-one. So we had a really fun time doing that. And 11/11 also happens to be our anniversary. So Josh and I got to spend our 9-year wedding anniversary feeding veterans, which I thought was great.
That's cool. And there's nothing more rewarding than a person that's dedicated their life to this country, and you get to give back. I think it's a special thing.
And they were so proud. Like, I mean, literally every single one of them was like, oh, I'm a veteran. And they would tell me all about their story and how many years they've been in and where they served. And they were so proud. And, we're literally sitting in a little gym in Covington, and they were so proud to just be, serving our United States. So I thought that was great.
That's cool. Well, this has just been a great time. We got to have you back. I mean,
absolutely.
We want to hear more. Most people don't know that I actually got to do a window job for you.
You did. You saved the day, as a matter of fact, because
so,
no other window company would go down. It was way out in the country, and I called everyone. No one would call me back, and Don Reilly saved the day on this window.
That was cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. We had 5 actually met your customer. She was a nice lady, and she
Yeah.
had these big dogs. I've ever shown these
They
big, were those some kind of, it was a sheepdog or something?
I don't even know what they were. But before you wrap, funny story about that. So the first time I ever went to her house, because we talked about my family, I had to bring my kids with me because Josh was on a basement remodel and he couldn't leave. And so I was like, kids, because I didn't have the baby yet. I was like, kids, stay in the car. Just stay there. And we were sitting out in their front room where those big windows were. And she's like, there's a child peeing in my yard. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my kid. I can't even believe it. I was mortified. But, she's so nice. She didn't care. But yeah, my kids sometimes are just, maybe peeing in your front yard. You just never know what's going to happen. Especially, I was glad it was in the country and not in a community. But yeah, you never know where they're going to pop up.
Wow. And Danielle, tell everybody where they can go to your website. Tell them how they can find you, your phone number. Yeah, just tell our listeners what they can do to reach out to you, and if they want you to come out and do a free consultation.
Yeah, sure. So our website since we have several companies, I'll give you all of them. Our website if you want to just kind of look up our portfolio for interior design and get just some design inspo, it's tobdesignfirm.com. And you can also follow me. I post a lot of my work on my Instagram page, which is dharris1111. Then my phone number, if you want to call for work, is 859-816-1927. And then the remodeling company, we have a Facebook and an Instagram that I really try to do really great before and after so people can really see that transformation. You can follow us there, and it's just JLH Customs with an S on the end of it.
And guys, you got to get out and check everything that Danielle does. I mean, it's just amazing from start to finish. And she does it right. And we're so glad, like I said, that you came on the show and introduced us to your business and your family.
Thanks.
And we're looking forward to having you again. And
the Genie's coming back.
That's right. So she has got her new name, and look out for the Genie because she's coming to a town.
I'm going to have to make T-shirts. I mean, it's legit now.
She's coming to a town near you, and she will definitely just snap her fingers, and your house is beautiful. And I'm just honored to have her with us. And thanks again for listening to Elegant Homes. I'm your host, Don Reilly, and we will talk to you next time.